I first came to Paris at Christmas vacation 1966-67 when I was studying art history in Florence, and I immediately fell in love with the city. And eventually I ended up coming back here when I was studying in Nice. I came from there to Paris in 1970 on an artist in residence grant. And that same day I went up to the rooftop of the foundation and looked out over the Paris rooftops and said, I'm going to make it or die trying in this place, and I'm still here.
I've known Ron since 1996, when I was working in a gallery on the Quai des Grands Augustins, where I indeed organized his first show. And I've been following his work ever since. What has evolved is the quality of light and the delicacy of surface in his works, which year by year has been getting finer.
Trying to get at the actual color that I'm looking at in the photograph that I've seen in reality, unless I've decided to change that color. But to get the richness of it, the luminosity of it, is something that's coming from inside my head. Because for me, it's like music. It's got to be beautiful to the ear, and the color has to be music for the eyes.
And I'm most particularly excited by the color pencil drawings that we have been able to exhibit in this show, because he's managed to find a technique that makes them look almost like paintings. So you get absolutely no sense that these are pencil drawings at all, and they have a very, very soft, almost radiant quality about them.
Well, the cabbage piece I did when I was vacationing with my friend Danny in Buenos Aires, and it took me a whole month to do in the winter of, I think it was 2009. But the original photograph I was working from, I took in the Lot in southwest France several years before that. But I guess I was mostly fascinated with this symphony of greens. There's about every green possible in that one drawing, and no other part of the palette.
The realist pictures, you recognize everything in them, and everything is very meticulously rendered. By eliminating detail and by concentrating most particularly on a simple shape, a form, and its light and color, he gives it, quite frankly, the purity of art, so that actually it moves away from the mere or technical depiction of reality.
I was an abstract painter back in the early 70s for a few years. And that taught me a lot about composition, because you're just dealing with pure form and color and texture and surface. And now I'm still working with figurative subject matter, but I really see it as abstract composition. I mean, that's why I see it as an abstract thing before I even take a photograph, and then afterwards I think, oh yeah, this is an interesting subject. In this case, it's the garage door of my brother's lake house in Florida, and I was just fascinated by this flamenco pink color with the bright afternoon sunlight, and then these exotic shadows cast onto the door through a tree that's originally from Hawaii. This type of tree, so it's very exotic.
The mix of paintings and drawings in Ron's case works very well, because there's the same concentration essentially on a single or a couple of main subjects in both the drawings and the paintings, so that there's no great discrepancy in subject matter. The smoothness of the textures means that they also have another point that they share. And the major change between the drawing to the painting would be in format, and that, however, I think dynamizes the show, so that you can have, for example, a row of small pictures and suddenly a big one. It's a way of also animating the wall and avoiding the monotony of always showing the same format or the same technique on the wall.
I was happy that they wanted to show the paintings with the colored pencils, because the two techniques feed off each other. And certainly it's wonderful to see everything up together. Because in my studio, I'm used to seeing just a few things at a time, and it really inspires me to see it all up together.
And I actually hope that he will continue in the same very concentrated and very methodical way in which he's been painting all of these years.
In the beginning, I very often project photograph onto the canvas just to see how it's going to fit the canvas and get a few lines down to indicate where things are, but then I take the projection away and do a lot of drawing by hand and arrange it the way I want, and the rest is all done by eye. I use acrylic to start a canvas because it dries quickly and allows me to get a base down and work faster. But the acrylic stage is kind of rough and matte, and I know that with the oil I can get the color a lot more vibrant and luminous and do the blending carefully. So that's the reason I work that way. And even with the oil, when I get toward the end, when everything's dry, I use transparent glazes to really push the color exactly the way I want it, to make them richer and deeper.
With this intensification of light and vibrancy, I think with time the paintings will gain more, even more in their poetic substance, and also their sense of mystery. And I think what Ron manages to render very beautifully in his painting is a sense of interesting emptiness or absence that you can feel in the painting, which is often indicated by the presence of shadows. And each painting seems to be questing for something that is not quite there. And this quest, I hope, will continue just as beautifully and mysteriously in the future.
Well, the thing is, I have thousands of photographs I've taken in my life of things I want to work from, and they're all filed away in this storage space around me. And and then I do have the ones I'm really interested in working on the most. I have in this plastic box here, but even there I must have several dozen. And then as I finish one painting, I think, well, what do I really want to do?